Okay, I want to start off by saying all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kadash. Double honours to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, pushing this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful 1/3 out there, the hopeful elect. Lord willing, we're part of that number. Waiting to get up out of here. So today, I'm going to talk about Exodus chapter 12, the Passover. So if you didn't know, today is the start of Passover, which is a 7-day event. And, you know, if you're new to this truth, this might be new news to you. There's a couple of people that are new to this channel, and they've been in this truth for maybe 6 months. So this is probably new information to them. If you've been in this truth for a while, then you will know what the Passover is and what it signifies. And so this will just be a repeat for you. So real quickly, just a quick breakdown. Like I say, I do know of some 3 people at least that have been into this truth for only 6 months or less watching this channel. So for their sake, I'm going to break it down real quick. Exodus chapter 12, the Passover, which, like I said, starts today, Friday the 26th at sundown. Okay, so chapter 12, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you." Okay, so that's quite plain and simple to understand, that this month is the first month of the year. Not December, not January, you know, around that period, which is what the Gregorian calendar suggests, these Edomites. That's completely false. That's just another lie that you've been pushed onto you. This is telling you quite clearly, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, every man shall take a lamb according to their father's houses, a lamb for a household. Okay, so this lamb is to eat. And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbour shall take according to the number of persons, according to what each can eat. You shall make your count of for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, a year old. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs at twilight. Okay, so what that's going into is, you know, in past times, we had our own cattle, our own livestock. So this is telling us to take one of our lambs, a year old, from our own livestock, and it must be a lamb without blemish. See, nowadays you buy your lamb from a shop, so you don't really have any idea whether that lamb is without blemish at all, to be honest. You just buy it and you eat what's in the packet. So obviously back then, when we had our own livestock, you know, it's an easy thing to take the lamb. You know, you've got all these lambs that have been born this year, all these newborn baby lambs, and one of them comes out with 3 legs, or one of them comes out with 1 ear missing. You're not supposed to pick that lamb and just do away with him and use him for this particular sacrifice. You're supposed to pick a good lamb without blemish, a male, a year old. Okay, so that's what that's going into. And you should keep it until the 14th day of this month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs at twilight. Okay, we move on. Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. Okay, so that's going into the 2 doorposts on the front door and the lintel which goes across the top of the door. You're supposed to take some blood and mark each 3 pieces of door frame. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Okay, so that's quite clear and plain and simple. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted, its head with its legs and its inner parts. And you shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. Okay, that's again quite simple and plain to understand. In this manner you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, as if you got to go. Okay, as it says next, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. Notice that was lowercase gods, all these dead gods, these fake idols that have been created through man-made tradition and not through the power of Yahweh. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So that's going into the marking of blood that you've put over your door, around your door. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. That's why it's called Passover. And no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be done for you a memorial day, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations, as a statute forever. You shall keep it as a feast. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven out of your houses. For if anyone eats what is leavened, from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a holy assembly, and on the 7th day a holy assembly. Now, that's a solemn assembly. You know, this assembly that you're holding is not going to be a house party. You're not going to pump the music and then invite every Israelite you know around. This is a solemn assembly. Okay, it has to be done in a solemn manner. No work shall be done on those days, but what everyone needs to eat, that alone may be prepared by you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For on this very day I brought your hosts out of the land of Egypt. So that's the memorial that we're commemorating by serving this holy period. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as a statute forever. In the first month, from the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. Okay, for a 7-day period. For 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses. If anyone eats what is leavened, that person will be cut off from the congregation of Israel. Whether he is a sojourner or a native of the land, you shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwelling places you shall eat unleavened bread. Now you can read further on into that chapter, but that's pretty much the point I want to make. This is what the Passover is regarding, and this is what is supposed to be done. It's all quite clear and simple. Now if we go over to the word unleavened and have a quick look. Bread made without yeast or other raising agents. That's pretty much what it is, okay? Bread made without yeast or raising agents. So that even goes into beer, you know, anything unleavened. So beer obviously has particular agents in there. So even beer you should really be removing from your house for that period of time. You don't have to throw it away, just remove it from your house, and you can bring it back after the 7 days. And real quickly, if we go over to Exodus 23 and 15, we can see here, celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv, for in that month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. So this is just to show you that the first month of the year is called Aviv. You might see that written down sometimes as ABIB rather than AVIV, and that is the name of the first month. So, and if we go over back to the blue letter at the concordance, I do like this one, to be honest, that's why I always go back to it. Transliteration, Abib, ABIB, and we can see down here the biblical usage. There's two really. The first one is fresh, young barley ears, barley. And number 2, month of ear forming, of greening of crop, of growing green Abib, month of Exodus and Passover, which is March or April, which is the first month of the year. Now the bitter herbs goes into horseradish. That's basically what you should be eating with the lamb. And if we carry on a little bit further, I stopped at 13. And if we carry on from 14, I carried on there. I think I stopped at 20. Carry on from 21. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go and select lambs for yourselves according to the clans, and kill the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of your hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. None of you shall go out of the door of this house until morning, for the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you. You shall observe this rite as a statute for you and your sons forever. And when you come to the land that the Lord will give you," which is what's going to be happening very soon when we're established back in our own land, when Yahushua comes back, "as he has promised, you shall keep this service. And when your children say to you, 'What do you mean by this service?' you shall say, 'It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover. For he passed over the houses of the people of Israel in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians, but spared our houses.' And the people bowed their heads and worshipped." Okay, so that's what you really need to know about Passover. It says it all right there. It's quite clear. It's quite plain. It doesn't need some big technical breakdown. And why horseradish at Passover? It's quite simple. Often horseradish symbolizing the bitterness of slavery, of all the symbolic foods of the Seder plate, the one that picks the most sensory wallow is horseradish. And when we go over to the blue letter, you can see here transliteration again, merora, pronounced, bitter things. Bitter thing, gall, poison. Yeah, and notice there it says maror at the beginning there. Bitter herbs, often horseradish. Okay, so that was a quick basic rundown on the Passover for the beginners. And during that breakdown I did mention that it was a solemn assembly. Now obviously initially it represents the Lord bringing us out of Egypt. But when you look into Matthew chapter 26, you will also discover that the crucifixion of Yahushua, the Last Supper, was also a Passover meal. So for that reason, that is the reason why I explained that it's a solemn assembly, because really you have to remember what happened on the Passover meal. So, if we look into it, I'm not going to go into the full chapter. You can read it yourself once again. But we will look at the headings and it will give you a brief rundown on what the chapter includes. Matthew 26, we've got here the plot against Yahushua. Yahushua anointed at Bethany. Judas agrees to betray Yahushua, which I'm sure you've probably already heard of, Judas Iscariot. As we can see here, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. The Last Supper, Yahushua with his disciples, and he says, one will betray me. And then we have Yahushua predicts Peter's denial. It says to Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. Peter's adamant, he says, "No, I'm not going to do it. Even if I fall away on account of you, I never will." Yahushua answered, "This very night before the rooster crows, you'll disown me 3 times. Then it goes into the Garden of Gethsemane. where Yahushua prayed to Yahweh 3 times. Then it's Yahushua arrested. And then Yahushua before the Sanhedrin, which is a term which basically means sitting together, which represents council or court. So Yahushua brought before the court, and it had to answer for whatever they were trying to throw at him, basically. And then it goes into Peter disowns Yahushua, and what Yahushua said about Peter disowning him 3 times comes true. So that's just a quick sort of look at it, and that's the reason why it becomes a solemn assembly, because you have to remember this was Yahushua's last meal with his disciples. Then after that point they were scattered, they ran off and were scattered and spread out then after that point. So you've like I say, if you're new to this, I urge you to read Exodus chapter 12 and Matthew 26. Take a good look and see what you think. And also I did go over to the BibleHub.com Matthew Paul commentary, which also gave in terms of giving it a quick summary to show you what it's about. It does quite a good job of that. Matthew 26, and it shows 1 and 2 Christ again foretells his own death. 3 to 5 the rulers conspire against him. 6 to 13 a woman poureth precious ointment upon his head. 14 to 16 Judas bargains to betray him. 17:25 Christ eateth the Passover and points out the traitor. 26:30 he institutes his last supper. 21 to 35 foretells desertion of his disciples and Peter's denial of him. 36 to 46 his agony and prayer in the garden. 47 to 50 he is betrayed and apprehended. 51 to 56 one of the servants of the high priest has his ear cut off. Yahushua forbiddeth opposition. 57 to 68 he is carried to Caiaphas, falsely accused, examined, pronounced guilty, and treated with indignity. Don't forget they spat in his face. I mean, I'll tell you something, when he comes back he's going to be pissed. These lot have they got something to answer for, I'll tell you that. And then we finish off here, 69 to 75 Peter's denial and repentance. So that's a quick summary of what is in Matthew 26. Like I say, I urge you to read it if you're new to this. And that goes into the Last Supper, which falls in line with the Passover, which makes it a solemn assembly. And if we go over to Luke chapter 22, we can see that wine is of significance to the Passover meal. And we have a look here, 22 and 19. And he took bread, gave thanks and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Okay, so Yahushua has broken the bread and told them to eat it as in remembrance of him, part of his body. This is what it's referring to. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which one of them it might be who would do this. So just drawing you back to the wine, and I'll read it again. "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." So that's what the wine represents. So you're having that. You've got the bread, you've got the lamb, and now you've got to have the wine. You've got the bit of herb with the horseradish, and you've got to have that glass of wine, and that represents the blood, which is the new covenant. And the reason why I went to Luke 22 for that precept rather than back to Matthew 26 was just to show you that Luke 22 is talking about the same thing as Matthew 26. So you have a backup really, for what you read in Matthew 26 can be backed up by Luke 22. And so as you can see, once that last supper took place with Yahushua and his disciples, he was then handed over, apprehended, to be crucified. So that in turn makes this Passover meal a solemn assembly. So this is for the people who are new to this truth. If you've been in this truth for a while, if you've been in this for a couple of years, you should really know this type of information. I shouldn't really have to break too much down for you. But like I say, those guys that are on this channel that have only been into this truth for less than 6 months, and this might be the first time you've heard about this, so just take this opportunity to look it up and find out what you can. Now, with that, I want to say something else. So, when you're watching this channel, obviously you're pretty much going to be given the truth, the information regarding the truth of this earth. And when they ask you the meaning of life, this is pretty much it. So I try to put as many videos out as I can, but as I'm not always able to do as much as I want, certain things take over. So from that point, this again, talking to the new people, what I want to say is when you're if you like the meantime, in between time, what you should do is find your way to these channels here, which I've got listed on my channel. Now, I don't know these people, I've never really spoke to them or anything like that. I sent a few messages, but I don't know these guys. But what I'm showing you is that if you're trying to find related information relating to the truth in between the time that I'm putting up videos, then you want to find your way to these channels, and you will find 100% truth. Not 99%, not 98%. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because obviously when I came to this truth, you have to go online, you have to go through and find out and see everybody and see what everybody's saying. And at some point you're having to go through camp after camp, and obviously if you have spirit of discernment working with you, you will work out who's who's good, who's not. Now, to save you that trouble, you can cut right to the chase and pretty much subscribe to these channels. Don't forget these three at the bottom here. And with that, you will get the same information that I give you, which is 100% truth regarding the Bible, regarding these prophecies that are to come, regarding what is happening on this earth. And another reason, obviously one reason, is to direct you here to feed you. All we're trying to do, really, all I'm trying to do is feed you with information. There's no monetary exchange or no request for you to come to a building and become a congregation that meets up face to face. This is just you watching in your free time to build up this truth and information within inside you, and if you receive it, you receive it. But the other reason why I'm bringing this out is because again, if I go back here now, this video I brought out the other day, the Secret Council, you might have watched that one. Now, if you go over to these channels, you will see other videos relating to the topics. So for example, when I put out a video, don't try not to make it too long, and try and hit a particular point. Now, in that video, the Secret Council, I pretty much try to explain that the conspiracy theory of the Illuminati is actually in the Bible, and trying to show you that. Now, from that point onwards, you can then go into other lessons relating to that particular lesson. And there's so many subjects being hit in one lesson, you can then make other lessons off of that. And that's what I'm trying to direct you push you in the direction of. So, for example, this one here, Christians don't know shit about prophecy. And you should, I think my internet's not working, but basically you find your way to these channels. This is a backup channel for that first one. If you go down here, the enlightened ones, duality. So when I was talking about the Illuminati, obviously some people call them Luciferians, and this video goes into the meaning of the word Lucifer and breaks down that whole part of the concept. So with that, it's like an add-on information. I mean, all this information you're going to get from these channels is all going to be very helpful. You're not going to get that with anyone else. So that's what I'm just trying to point out at this particular moment. Even these channels here, if you go down here, a lot of good videos, all relating to the truth of this earth, all relating to the Bible, all the prophecies that are to come. I'm not going to try and pronounce the names of these elders because I'll probably get them wrong. This channel here, I put this one out here for a particular reason. GMS Truth Be Told. You can see many videos of chariots up here. So let's have a look. As you can see, anything sort of chariot related, any sort of sightings. People are always interested in chariots of the Lord, aka what the world calls UFOs. And on this channel you can see many different videos relating to that. I mean, you can look into any camp that's got GMS written on there will obviously be part of GMS, but personally I would point you to these channels. And like I say, the reason why I'm doing that is for the new people. This is all for educational purposes. This is all to wake up the house of Israel, the 1/3, before the very day Yahushua returns. And this is what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to ride back on the back of anybody. It's literally just to point you out into the right direction. So yeah, if you're new, look into these. But actually, before I go, I almost forgot. Also, if you go onto this channel here, Israelite, this elder has put up a video, as we can see here, a reminder of the Feast of the Beast, the 13-day period, April 19th to May 1st. That also goes into the Illuminati, Molech, the spirit of Molech, the worship of Molech, and explains that on a whole deeper level. So, you know, these elders have been doing this for many years. They know their stuff, they know their information, and that's why I urge you to go there. Like I say, I do know their names, but I'm not going to try to pronounce them for fear of getting them wrong. But like I say, just go over there and subscribe to these channels. So Lord willing, you were edified. Lord willing, you managed to take something from this video. And I'm going to finish off by saying all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.